This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Locked On Bets, and we appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen of the day here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. Only 2 days left in July, 1 day left until the NFL season begins. And before we get to all the plays, Lee, pretty exciting time as we finally get through the end of July.
It is. I mean, baseball's heating up, trade deadline. I think some teams are going to make some runs at it. I think it's wide open this year. So that's going to be fun to see how that shakes out. Training camps have opened up. Already some key injuries going on there, things shaking out. So I'm excited about the end of July and heading into August for football.
And we have 3 baseball plays today. We'll look at the Buffalo Bills coming up in just a little bit. But let's begin with our blowout special.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
Mariners Athletics wrap up their series in Sacramento coming up tonight. Seattle won the opener. A's won last night. But Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners, we'll see what he can do here in this little box in Sacramento, where we've seen a lot of runs scored. Not necessarily in this series, but what do you have with Julio Rodriguez, Lee, tonight, Seattle and the A's?
So when you look at Julio Rodriguez, I mean, he is an absolute monument to what a baseball player should be as far as 5 tools. He can do it all. But if you listen to Seattle radio and the press out there, he has been not a bust, but he has been a disappointment. I mean, here's a guy that should be hitting 40 to 50 homers a year, driving in 100-plus runs, stealing 25, 35 bases, makes plays in the outfield, has a plus arm, and he's underperformed, but finally starting to get hot. And when he gets hot, looks out. So he's going against Jeffrey Springs here tonight, 3-9 lifetime. Not a whole lot you can tell there, except for he does have 1 home run. Talk about hitting conditions. Sacramento, one of the best fields to hit at, and wind's going to be blowing out. Just check that. So that's another check in the box. He has 13 extra base hits here in July. Remember, we have the All-Star break. He's gone over also 1.5 bases in 5 of the last 7 games. So here's a guy that taken a lot of heat early. Love watching him for all his tools. When he is on, I think he's one of the top 5-7 players in Major League Baseball. So I'm going to ride him. I think he's going to carry him here for the next couple of weeks. Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners over 1.5 bases, -120, blowout special.
Is this, Lee, too, the idea with Julio Rodriguez, why he may not have performed to what he should have been? Remember the home run derby a few years ago when he just went bonkers and then he was like all over the place because of that home run derby? Do we have that in our minds that because of that, it was like with Josh Hamilton years ago when he was with the Rangers, when he had all his home runs at Yankee Stadium at the home run derby? Is it that where we're expecting these big things out of him, and he's still been good, just not superstar good?
I think it's part of it, Kevin. If you watch him play, and I watch a lot of Mariner games late at night, he is an absolute phenom. I mean, you talk about some of the greatest players in the game, Willie Mays, think players like that. He's bigger, maybe, I don't know if he's faster, bigger, stronger, probably close to as good an arm. I mean, he is scary good. Just, the consistency hasn't been there. And sometimes young guys, it takes them a little while. So, we might be sleeping on him early in his career, the last, couple months, but I think he finally might have found his way. And he might be one of these guys in the second half that you say, wow, I should have been on him earlier.
So we'll see how that turns out. Late night game out in Sacramento between the Mariners and the A's. Let's look back at what we had for our plays last night. A winning night, 2-1. Teoscar Hernandez of the Dodgers, just one hit, but it was a double, so it was good enough for over on his prop 1.5. Dodgers ended up beating the Reds. So sometimes, you know what, Lee? You'll take the 1 for 4, and if it's a winner, so what? Got it.
Not just you'll take it. There is some planning that goes in on this. I very rarely take guys that just hit singles because you got to get 2 hits. Someone like him is going to drive the ball, hits a lot of doubles, hits a lot of homers, and that being the case, there's a lot that goes into these, 1.5 bases when you're at bat. So those are some of the things I look at. Like I said, very rarely take punch and Judy hitters. I want guys that can drive the ball, get those doubles, triples, and home runs, and he's one of those guys. So instead of sitting there and waiting for a second hit, a lot of times he can end it early. He didn't get a hit early, but he later came on and hit that double. So we'll take it. That's what we're looking for.
And the Royals end up beating the Braves. I guess just fade Eric Fede whenever he goes to the mound. Before I hear your feedback on this game, I want to give you this number here, Lee. In the first 5 innings this year, in 21 starts for Eric Fede, 20 with the Cardinals and 1 with the Braves, he's led 2 times through 21 games through the first 5 innings. So obviously last night was another game that he didn't, but it's just the Braves need arms, and it doesn't. You might as well get somebody out of the stands. It could be better than Fede.
Funny. It reminds me of Lou Piniella one time. They had called up someone from Tacoma, and they asked him what he thought of him. Obviously, he'd done no homework at all. And he says, well, he's got an arm. Yeah, that's about it. He's got an arm. He's just a fill-in. I mean, they're just riding out the storm, and that's what the second half of baseball is all about. Now, the last 2 to 3 weeks is tricky in baseball, and you see a lot of things flip, and a lot of when you have 2 teams playing for nothing, it's hard to figure it out. But right now, for the next 45 days, there's these teams like Atlanta that have to call up these guys, and they're just not going to get the job done. So let's take advantage of guys under the radar like Julio Rodriguez, and let's also take advantage of guys that that just probably are not going to be in the major leagues after this season, and that's what handicapping is all about.
And our loser on the Cubs last night, did not necessarily play the Ryan Sandberg angle, thinking the Cubs are going to win one for him after he had passed away a few nights ago. I just more looked at it that after they had that 3-0 lead against Milwaukee in Game 1, ended up losing. They bounced back here, and I mentioned it yesterday, not to fall 2 back of the Brewers in the NL Central. They ended up doing that. Quinn Priester has turned into a great find for Milwaukee, and he's been fantastic. And Colin Ray just couldn't hold down his old teammates, the Brewers. Cubs had, I think in the 4th inning, they had first and second, no outs. They couldn't drive in a run. Dansby Swanson struck out in a 10-pitch at bat. And you don't get the offense, you can't win. So it's a tough one there. And the Cubs starting to fall behind the Brewers there in the NL Central.
I was watching some of the games with a friend of mine, and I turned that game off. He's like, why are you turning it off? We still have a chance. I'm like, I've seen this song and dance before. When you have so many opportunities like that, and you don't cash usually in by the 4th, 5th inning, usually not gonna turn into a winner. So it happens sometimes. You'll bounce back, and I expect a strong Wednesday through Friday showing out of you.
Yeah. So we got a play coming up on the Rangers and the Angels, also the Rays and the Yankees. Couple night games, a lot of afternoon games today in Major League Baseball. We have some night action. Also, the Buffalo Bills, we'll talk about them coming up. Is it that easy for them to win the AFC East? Spoiler alert, it is. We'll tell you more about that coming up in just a little bit as we continue. You're listening to Locked On Bets. I want to tell you now about Monarch Money, and we talked plenty about Monarch Money here on Locked On Bets. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Stick to your budget with these tools. Monarch Money has a flex budget system, allows you to save for big goals. Also, you can modify your groups and categories that suit you at Monarch Money. Also, this is pretty cool. You can use flex budgeting when expenses change from month to month, or when you have those expected expenses, you go to fixed budgeting. So you have your choices there at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. We continue here, Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, as we have a couple baseball plays for Wednesday night. And let's begin with bet a little, win a lot.
They say you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So bet a little, win a lot.
I'm going to look at an underdog here, Lee, and I get this is not a huge underdog, but I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Angels tonight against Texas. And the Angels have won the first 2 games against the Rangers. Texas was off that great homestand. They took 2 of 3 from Detroit. The only loss came against Tarek Skubal. Then they swept the A's. They swept the Braves. They go out to Anaheim. Jacob deGrom doesn't pitch well in the opener. They lose last night. There was some hitting back and forth as far as a hit batsman. The Angels weren't too happy with that. But here's my reasoning here with tonight's play with the Angels, Lee, that the last time these teams or these pitchers tonight were on opposite sides, Nathan Eovaldi on the Rangers, Jose Soriano for the Angels, was back in early July. Soriano was a minus 110 favorite, and the Angels ended up losing the game 13-1. Eovaldi was great. Soriano was knocked around. Same 2 pitchers going tonight, but now Nathan Eovaldi is around the minus 135 range. So he's flipped from the short underdog to a sizable favorite. He's pitched well of late. He's pitched well this whole season. But I do think now there's that the narrative, Texas can't be swept. You know, they have Eovaldi going. They're not going to get swept. Soriano, I think, will pitch better this time around against Texas. He has pitched better of late. And for Eovaldi, for as good as he's been, I don't have the faith in Texas to avoid the sweep tonight. I just think the price is off, and I think the Angels here will finish off the sweep. Now, granted, the Angels likely won't be in the postseason. The Rangers probably could be, but in this scenario tonight, I think the Angels will ride the momentum of the first 2 wins, and they'll win tonight. So we'll take the Angels against the Rangers.
Like it. Do you also think that here's the sense I get when I watch the Angels this year? Their lineup's just a little bit better last couple of years. Last couple of years, when Trout was out or when they were playing, it looked like they were so dependent on him getting a hit. They can win a lot of nights even when he's not on. So, you know, he's not the base stealer he was. Doesn't have the power right now. I think he's like 33 years old, starting to slow down a little bit. But I do think that the lineup's gotten better from top to bottom. And they're not a playoff team, but they're certainly much better than last year. And they might be one of these teams that plays, 500, a little above 500 down the stretch.
Well, and also Nolan Shanuel, their first baseman, he played at FAU, and he was a very good hitter in college. When University of Miami played FAU a few times, remember calling games with him, and he was a guy that batted 350 something. He was really good in college. So I remember that name, and he got drafted by the Angels. He's been very good for them as just another guy that could help out that offense when Mike Trout is either struggling or he's injured. So the Angels tonight will go with them against the Rangers. So now a second division battle, this one in the Bronx.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
The Rays and the Yankees at Yankee Stadium tonight, and the Rays won the opener. They jumped out to a quick lead on Max Fried last night, but then New York came back. They ended up winning. Aaron Judge still sidelined for the Yankees. So these two teams getting at it. Toronto's been losing, so the Blue Jays, they've struggled a bit, keeping the door open for both the Yankees and the Rays. Lee, what do you have with this matchup?
Yeah, when you watch the Yankees games without Aaron Judge, there's just no energy when they're playing at home. By the team, by the fans, it's like you wouldn't even know where the game's at if you didn't know it was being played in the Bronx. But, we're able to see what this offense looks like without Aaron Judge. In 4 games since he went down with an injury on the 26th, their offense ranks 26th in slugging, 25th in average, 22nd in weighted runs created, and 23rd in home runs with just 3. I would usually wait to get a better sample size of a team's success without a guy. But when someone means that much to lineup, as Judge does, I think you got to jump on it now. Separately, for the first time in a long time, I actually have some faith in Zach Littell, Tampa's starter here. He hasn't had great career success against the Yankees team before, but he's getting actually a little lucky. And he has a career average of 261 and batted balls here in play. That would be second best in his career if it holds this year. And he's limiting runs here by straining 85.1% of the base runners. He's never a guy that's going to be impressive, when you look at stats. But when he's getting breaks like this, pretty darn good. Will Warren, the other guy, with also some misleading stats here, 4.82 ERA with a 4.07 expected ERA, but his home ERA here shows off that this guy can get the job done here. So I like both bullpens here, considering the amount of rest they also will have, and I have doubts here in both offenses' ability to score runs. So I think it's going to be a close one, 3-2 if they go wild, 4-3. Totals at 9 here, I think gives you a little bit of breathing room. Let's go with the under 9 runs, -110, and the Yankees and Tampa Bay Rays game. It's going to be my hidden gem.
Yeah, last night the offenses blew up, and Max Fried hadn't allowed a run the first 2 starts against Tampa Bay and got knocked around early before the Yankees offense exploded. So, yeah, we'll see if the offenses get limited tonight. We saw that in game 1 of this series. Coming up, we will go to the NFL, and nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. We'll see if they could finally get to the Super Bowl this year with Josh Allen, perhaps. But again, we'll see. We'll talk about the Bills coming up right here on Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets continues here on this Wednesday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. And we shift our attention now to the National Football League. And I think it's fair to say, out of the 8 divisions in the NFL, the one that seems like the biggest runaway is the AFC East, with the Buffalo Bills, considering the Dolphins, we don't know where they're at. The Patriots are the second-year quarterback, and the Jets are the Jets. So with all that being said, let's look at today's lock of the day.
Open it. Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
The key got stuck in the door for a second. So the Buffalo Bills, Lee, it's so hard to say or to make an argument for any of these other teams, the AFC East, to win it just because of the quarterback situations. Buffalo's just so loaded. And again, then the next question is, too, and they're going to break it all down, but then the next question, too, is can they finally just get over that hump? They've made it far enough in the playoffs. They can't get past the Chiefs. Can this be the year that Buffalo can finally make it?
I think that they have their best shot this year. And why do I say that? I think there's 3 teams that are out there in the AFC. I think it's obviously Kansas City, but their offensive line, you can see when they've lost those 2 Super Bowls, teams have exploited them with a 4-man rush. And I don't know if they can get any better on defense. They played about as well as they could play. And, maybe their wide receiver position is slightly better. Baltimore is right there. They can't get over the hump. And after that, those 3 teams are from 3 to 5 to 1 as far as, being the favorites. And you got like the Bengals at 10 to 1. But that's not going to be the 2 areas that I'm going to try to attack here with Buffalo. Let's look at the division. Miami has gone from the second favorite at like 5 to 1 to win the division to 7 to 1. Why? Secondary, they've already lost a projected starting safety, lost their best cover corner this morning, Kader Caillou. He's out for the year. I honestly do not think that Miami has a cornerback on the roster that could start for any other team, any of the other 31 teams in the NFL. So they're not going to be in it. New England's improved. We talked about them earlier in the month. Yeah, they're going to be improved, but they're not even close to Buffalo. They're probably 2 years away from contending for a playoff spot. And then you got the Jets. Jets are the Jets. They have no quarterback. Maybe they're slightly better, but they're not going to win half their games. So you have them right now at just minus 300 to win the division. I think it's by the time the season starts, it's going to be minus 500, minus 600. I think they could win the division with Mitchell Trubisky playing quarterback for half the season, or even third stringer Mike White. So why do I like them more than in other years? Well, they upgraded the receiver position, added Joshua Palmer. They already had Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir. They also have Curtis Samuel. I think they have maybe top 3 tight end duo in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. Kincaid was banged up last year. I expect if you play fantasy, he's a guy you might want to look at. He was underused last year. And then their running back, James Cook. Everyone thought that he was like an afterthought, just kind of a fill-in, a guy that they just play for a while till they find their guy. He's as good or better than Dalvin Cook. He does it all running and catching the ball out of the backfield. Greg Rousseau on defense starting to come into his own. And who do they add? Joey Bosa. If he stays healthy, look out. Tre'Davious White, their starting cornerback, he doesn't even start anymore. And they added Maxwell Harrison. This is a very much upgraded team here. So I don't know if 2 years from now they're going to be at this level. Even Matt Miano missed a lot of the last 2 years, with a torn pec muscle. I think this team is right there, and I think they're ready to strike. So I'm going to take them at minus 300 to win the division, and the over-under on games won is 11.5. This is a 13-win team. So I'm going to go the double lock. How about this? We're going to go with over 11.5 wins, and they'll get that, like I said, even if Mitchell Trubisky had to play half the games here. That's going to be a level 1 lock here and a level 2 lock. I'm going to take Buffalo to win the division here, minus 300. Double lock on a Wednesday.
So if we went the opposite way in a sense, Lee, and you said find the 5 losses, you go over 11.5, find the 5 losses for the Bills, go 12-5. They host Baltimore in week 1. They got blown out by the Ravens on Sunday Night Football last year. But their home games, besides that, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, probably all wins. You got the Chiefs at home. You got Tampa Bay at home, Cincinnati at home, Eagles at home at the end, and the Jets at home. You'd figure even if you lost 2 of those. But then the road schedule, at the Jets, at Atlanta, at Carolina, at Miami, at Houston, at Pittsburgh, at New England, at Cleveland. They could maybe lose 1 road game this year.
Right. Let's say they lose 2. That's 13-4.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're still with 1 to spare. So, yeah, I don't know if I could find 5 losses. As long as I know you say you could win with Trubisky. If Josh Allen's healthy the whole year, I don't see you losing more than 5. I just can't see that, even with Kansas City and Baltimore going to your stadium, and the road schedule is cake. So I just think that it's hard to see them finish under 11.5 wins.
I'm not a Trubisky fan as a starter, but I'm being a little facetious. He is still one of the better backups. So let's be honest. If he has to play 3 or 4 games, they can win half of them.
Oh, it depends on who they. Yeah, exactly. They played the Jets. If they played Cleveland, they played some of those teams. Yeah. Eric Fadday can maybe play. Well, maybe that's a stretch, but who knows? Anyway, we have football coming up on Thursday. We're going to talk Chargers, Lions tomorrow. Lee, what do you got going on at Paramount Sports?
Yeah, I'm going to have either the game or the total tomorrow. So you want to tune in and hope to start it off strong. We've won 6 out of the last 8 seasons in preseason. It's nice to build that bankroll. We won last night and looking for a chance, if we keep rolling the rest of the week, to have our 5th straight winning week since we came back. So that's important to build the momentum. And like I said, football, when you wake up tomorrow morning, football is on your doorstep. That's exciting. UFC card. We'll have that up and ready tomorrow. Check that out. We've won 9 of the last 10 cards in the UFC. And then also baseball. You want to get 10 days of baseball action, $50. 10 days of baseball player props, $50. And if you want to get the combo, you're going to get 6-7 selections a day of player props and also games in baseball, $77. So everything's up and available. Just one place, ParamountSports.com, or you can call me. Time's to call now. Don't call me opening weekend and say, can you explain to me your system and where should I play locally and offshore, things like that. Now's the time. You can hit me up. I have time to spend it and explain to you how we work here at Paramount Sports, our weighted system from 10 to 50 units, how much you should play based on your bankroll. So ParamountSports.com or 800-400-9741.
And you can find each of us on X. I'm at Rogers Picks. Leah's at Paramount Sports. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, and we appreciate your support. Also, the podcast you can find as well. You just want to listen to us. You go to your favorite audio platform, Locked On Bets, and we've had a nice response since rebooting a little over a month ago, and we're just rolling right now as football coming up in August, and then we're off and running from there. For Lee Sterling, I am Kevin Rogers. As always, we appreciate you listening to Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.